Okay, so everything is now recorded. Okay, so if I'm seeing that you are just leaving in between, okay, so I can already know that because everything is now recorded. So you cannot do like you just write your roll number and then you leave. Okay. Okay. Pranav Sinha, can you start your video, please? Okay, fine. Prashant Saha, sorry. Prashant Saha, you are there. Manas. Avirup Das. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so we will just start in 2 minutes. So I've uploaded the first lecture in your this drive. Okay. So I have created one drive that is also for your PED lab. So the same drive you already have the video for the PED lab. You can go back and try to install the MATLAB according to that. Has anyone of you installed the MATLAB?
So the file is quite heavy, so it's taking a lot of time.
Okay. So you see the video. Okay. I will upload this video also today. So you
Yes,
can
sir.
go back and revise.
Yes, sir.
You okay?
Can you create a Google Classroom for all the study material? It will be very easy for us to access that.
You can access that
If
drive also, na? You can access that drive easily.
Yes, sir.
Use the drive. Can you see the screen?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, just quickly. Right. So welcome to the second lecture. In this lecture, we will look into more details about what we were doing in the last class. Okay, so we were talking about power electronics and what exactly power electronics is. Okay, and with that we started with let's just start with a simple example. Okay, so here you are seeing a DC to DC converter, right? So this DC to DC converter is let's say converting 100 volts into 50 volts. Okay, because that is what we need in the output. Okay, so the output load is 50 volts, 10 amperes, that is 500 watts, and the source voltage is 100 volts. Okay, so how can we go about realizing this converter? Okay, so the first way to do this is a simple potential divider, right? So we can use a potential divider in such a way that there is a 50 volts drop across this particular resistor, and then we will get a 50 volts drop across the output. Okay, so this is the first way. But now this is a very dissipative realization because a lot of loss is happening. And in the last class, we studied that power electronics means that we should take care of our efficiency. So we should have a very high efficiency and minimum losses. So this kind of converter is not good. So because you are inputting 1000 watts and at the output you are getting 500 watts. So it is only 50% efficient. Okay. So but this is a possibility, right? So but we don't use it because it is the efficiency is only 50%. So we have to increase the efficiency. Okay, so the another way we can do it is use a transistor. Okay, so we can use a transistor. So the transistor is in series, and we can use a control circuit, right? So we can use a control circuit. Now this transistor, you can see over here, this is uh, the uh, the output characteristic of this transistor, right? So in the x-axis we have the collector emitter voltage, okay, and in the y-axis we have the collector current, okay, and this is the output characteristic. And all of these blue lines that you are seeing, that is for a different values of the base current. Okay, so depending if the base current is 0, okay, it means that we are in the cutoff region. Okay, so we are in the cutoff region if the base current is 0. Now if the base current slowly we increase it, so we will achieve different values of the IC. Okay, but the operation can be either in saturation region or it can be in the active region. Okay, so as you can see, when the curve is linear, okay, so when the IC is linearly changing with the change in the collector emitter voltage, so that particular region, that is the shaded region over here, this is the saturation region. Okay, and the active region is the region where you are having the constant IC. Okay, so irrespective of you are changing the value of the collector emitter voltage, okay, so that does not change the value of the collector current. Okay, so that is the active region. Now this happens when you are having a very large voltage drop, right? So as you can see, this is the source is attached to the collector. Okay, so the load is attached to the emitter, and you are providing the circuit, the driver circuit at the base. Okay, so the collector emitter voltage is very high in this kind of circuit, where you are only using the transistor to control the to switch on or off. Okay, so because of the reason that the collector emitter voltage is very high, that is in 50 volts, so this particular transistor will act in the active region. Okay, and what is the total power that we have? That will be the IC into the VCE, right? So we will have a 500 watts loss in this particular region, because it will act in a way just like a resistor. Okay, so the transistor acts as a resistor in this active region. Okay, so we cannot use this. Again, the efficiency is again the 50%. So we cannot just use a transistor like this, because the efficiency is very, very low. That is 50%. Okay, so this is the third option. Now there is a third option. The third option is to use a single pole double throw switch. Okay, so we can have a circuit like this, where this is the we will talk about what is this circuit in the coming slides. So we can have a circuit where the circuit is turned on. Okay, so the power is being supplied by the source for a time period of DTS, and then it is switched off for another period of time, that is 1 minus D into TS. Okay, so with that, what will happen is this, when it is on, this is a transistor. Okay, so this is a transistor, but when this is on, this is working in the saturation region. Okay, so when the transistor is working, when it is on, it is in the saturation region. Okay, and when it is off, it is in the off state. It means that it is never in the active region. And since the transistor is not in the active region, what will happen is there will be very, very low loss. Insignificant amount of loss will be there in the transistor. Okay, so with this, we can realize this. Okay, so at the output, okay, we can use LC filter. Okay, we can use a LC filter. And this LC filter will hopefully be lossless, because you go back and remember from the basic electrical engineering that the inductor and the capacitor don't really use any real power. Okay, so it is only the resistor that uses the real power, but the inductor and the capacitor don't use real power. Okay, so from there you can realize that this kind of realization is possible. And what about these two particular points? So what we will do is that we will realize this using a transistor and a diode. Okay, so in the when the transistor is turned on, okay, it is turned on in the saturation region, and in the saturation region the value of the VCE is very less. Because of that, the losses associated with this transistor will be low. And when it is in the when it is at position 2, it is going through this particular diode. Okay, so there will be no losses, and we can also control this particular circuit much better. Okay, so this circuit that you are seeing over here, it is a buck converter, and this is converting the 100 volts to the 50 volts output with minimum amount of losses. And why is that happening? Because we are not operating the transistor in the active region. Okay, we are operating the transistor in the saturation region or in the switched off region or cut off region, and we are using a diode. Okay, so this is the circuit that we use for power applications. So there is a difference between the signal circuits and power circuits. So in the signal circuits, we don't really care about the efficiency, okay, because the voltage levels and the current levels in the signal circuits are low, right? So we can use resistors, and also we can use the transistors in the linear mode. Okay, but in case of power circuits, we cannot do that. But in signal circuits, we generally don't use magnetics, or we don't use the inductors. Why? Because the inductors are much heavy and bulky things. Okay, so the ICs that you see, the ICs are the signal circuits. Okay, so they are designed on small PCBs, and in that you don't generally use the magnetics, or you don't use the inductors. Okay, but in that case you can use resistors. Okay, because the amount of current that is associated with the signal circuits is very less. But that is not the case with the power circuits. The power circuits have the signal the current level in power circuits is much larger. Okay, so because of that you cannot use resistors, and also you cannot use the linear mode operation or the active mode operation of the transistors. Okay, so because in the active mode, the linear mode, the transistor is just acting as a resistor. Okay, so that is why you cannot use the linear mode operation of transistors in case of power circuits. So you have to avoid the lossy elements to increase the efficiency of the particular circuit. Okay, so the power circuits are generally consists of capacitors, magnetics, and transistors in the cutoff region or in the saturation region. Okay, so in the saturation region you don't have much losses. Okay, losses are minimized. So if you have to operate the particular transistor in a power circuit, you will always operate it in the saturation region or in the cutoff region.
So, but
Any doubts?
in the saturation region, the current becomes more or less constant, right? And there's no change in current with respect to voltage. So, how do we control the output?
We control the output by only having two states. Okay, we control the output by having two states. We either the state can be 0 or it can be 1. Okay, let me just uh, I'm just closing this. One second. Okay, I'm just opening that. Can you see this whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we talk about the transistor, so you already know this, that we are having, this is the transistor. So this is the output characteristic of the transistor. So in this we are having the, so this is the transistor, let's say. So this is the base, this is the collector, this is the emitter. Okay. This one is the VCE. This is the IC, that is the collector current. This is the base current. Okay. So this is a transistor, and the output characteristic of this transistor is given by this kind of curve. Okay, so this region that you are seeing over here, okay, so this is the region. In this particular region, okay, this is the IC. So as you increase the particular VC value, okay, so the IC also increases. Okay, so in this is the saturation region. Okay, so as you increase the value of VCE, okay, so the value of the IC is also increasing. So this particular characteristic is for, let's say, IB3, IB2, and IB1. This is the base current. So in this particular curve, we see that IB3 is greater than IB2, greater than IB1. And if we don't have any IB value, right? So if the value of the IB is 0, then the circuit is turned off. That is the cutoff region. This is the IB equal to 0. That is the cutoff region. Okay, and the power that is consumed by this particular transistor is given by into IC. Okay. So to reduce this power loss, what we do is that we make sure that the VCE value is small, and the value is small only when we are having in the saturation region, right? When the saturation region, the value of the VCE is very small and the circuit is turned on. So so in that way, what we do is that we always operate this in this region, and this is, let's say, the load line. Okay, so this is the load line. So we will operate at this particular point. Okay.
So I think your board is not visible. I can't see anymore.
The whiteboard is not visible.
Not anymore, sir. Earlier it was. Now I don't think it is.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we are doing is that we are either operating in this saturation region, that is on state, or this cutoff region when it is in off state. Okay. Is this clear?
So that reduces VC, so net power consumed is less. That's what you're saying.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So the objective of power electronics is to minimize this this power. So this is what? This is the switching loss, right? This is the switching loss. So we have to minimize this. And this can be minimized only if we are operating in the saturation region. Okay, we cannot operate in this active region. Okay. So all power electronic devices that you see, we always operate in the saturation region. Why? Because the value, because the current that is passing is very large. Okay. But in the signal circuits, okay, so in the signal circuits, we can operate the transistor in the active region also, because the value of the current is small, right? Understanding?
Yes, sir. The IC will be reduced.
Correct. So the IC value is very large in power electronics or power circuits. So that is why we never operate the power electronic switches in the active region. Okay. Otherwise, the power consumed by that particular switch will be very large. But that is not the case for the signal circuits. In the signal circuits, the current, that is the IC value, is very small, and because of that, we can still operate the circuit in the active region. Okay, so that is what it is saying over here. Okay, so in the power circuits, as okay, so in the signal circuits, as we can see here, that we can operate the transistor in the linear mode or in the active region, and we can use a resistor also because the current value is small, right? But in the power circuit, we cannot operate it in the linear mode. We have to operate it in the saturation region or in the cutoff region, and we cannot also use the resistor. Any doubts in this? Is this clear?
In the single pole double throw, why did we use the diode?
Please talk loudly. I'm not able to hear you.
Hello.
हाँ बोलो.
सर सिंगल पोल डबल थ्रो का जो सर्किट था उसमें डायोड का क्या काम था?
Okay, so diode. So the diode is the circuit number 2. When it is in position number 2, we will see how this particular thing works. Okay, when we go to the DC-DC converter, we will see that this diode is actually reverse biased initially, but then because of this inductor, it becomes forward biased. Okay, so when you talk about this particular circuit 1, okay, so this circuit 1 is that the current is going through this particular switch, but this switch is operating at the in the saturation mode. It is not operating in the active region. Okay, it is in the saturation region, and when it is off, it is in the cutoff region. So it is, when it is on, it is in the saturation region. When it is off, it is in the cutoff region. And when it is in the cutoff region, the current flows through this diode. Okay, there is no current flowing through the switch. It is flowing through the diode, because during that time the diode becomes forward biased. Okay, so we will look it up in the DC to DC converters part. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right, so make note of this, the difference between signal circuit and power circuit, and what kind of mode is allowed in the power circuit, and what kind of mode is allowed in the signal circuit. Okay, now we will talk about the switch, right? So we have already seen in the last class. So this is a mechanical switch. This is very rugged, reliable, efficient, long-lived, but now this is not very fast. Okay. So when we talk about an ideal power electronic switch, so ideally the switch should be in 2 states, off or on. And when the switch is fully on, okay, the power consumed by the ideal switch should be 0. Okay. So ideally the power the switch should have 3 characteristics. Okay, so first, that it should have 0 conduction losses. The ideal switch should have 0 conduction losses. It should have 0 blocking loss. Okay, and it should have, so for example, when it is completely off, okay, there should be no current that should be flowing through the switch. So the power when it is off, the power consumed by the switch should be 0. That is the 0 blocking loss. And also there should be in between. Okay, so when it is in the blocking state, when it is going to the on state, in between it should have 0. The transition that we have should be instantaneous. So instantaneously we should go from this particular state, that is the off state, to on state, and from on state to the off state. This is the ideal switch. So it should be very fast. It can open and close instantaneously. Then ideally it can conduct any amount of current with no internal voltage drop. That is, it should have 0 conduction loss, and it should have 0 blocking loss. When open, it should not conduct any current and can withstand any voltage without breakdown. Okay, so these are the 3 important characteristics of the for ideal switch. But now the switch we have in our application, it is not ideal. Okay. So the switches that we consider, all these are the all switches that we will be considering, right? So power electronic switch is what we will be studying. So these switches are not ideal. And what are the various switches that we have? Okay, so the first switch is what we call the uncontrollable switch. Okay, so this switch is something that we cannot control. Okay, what does that mean? It means that it is the state of the circuit, okay, or the power circuit itself that determines if the device is on or off. So that is why this is called an uncontrolled device. The example of an uncontrolled device is a diode. Okay, and then we have what we call a half controlled device. So in the half controlled device, it can be turned on by the control signal. That is a thyristor. Example is a thyristor. So the thyristor can be turned on provided that it is forward biased, but it cannot be turned off using the gate. Okay, it can be turned off only by the power circuit. Okay, so this is the half controlled device. And then we have the fully controlled device. For example, the power MOSFET, IGBT, GTO, IGCT. Okay, and these devices can be turned on and off both. Okay, so we can using the gate signal, we can turn it on and turn it off. Okay, so in this way, first we will study the power diode. Okay, so the power diode is an uncontrolled device. Okay, and this, as you can see over here, there is a difference between a signal diode and a power diode. Okay, so the normal signal diode that you are seeing over here, this is the normal signal diode. Okay, this is only for small voltage and current ratings, but the power diode is for much greater ratings of the voltage and the current. And we will see what is the difference. Okay, so we will look into the characteristic of the diode and the characteristics of the difference between the power diode and the signal diode. Okay, so as you can see over here, this is the anode, this is the cathode, and this particular kind of power diode that can handle something like 4,000 amperes. Okay, and it can handle 4,000 amperes and 6,000 voltage across it. And if this kind of diode is there, it has limited capability. Okay, further this is also limited. Okay, so in that way, there are various categories of diodes depending on their capability to handle voltage and the current. Okay, so just a review of the semiconductor physics before we delve into the power diode. Okay, so I will quickly go through this because I think everyone would have learned about these things. So I would not spend much time. Okay, so it will be just a quick revision, and once I give you these slides, okay, you can just go back and revise these slides on your own time. Okay, so about the power semiconductor physics. Okay, so we already know that there are two types of doping, that is the p type and the n type. And the p type, for example, doping is having the holes as the majority carriers, and n type doping is having the electrons as the majority carriers. And how they are formed, you already know. So the n type is formed using a pentavalent atom, and when we dope it, we are having an extra electron because it's a pentavalent atom. So the other bonds are the covalent bonds, and we have an extra free electron over here. And when we have a trivalent atom, for example, a boron that is doped inside the silicon, then we have a hole formation. So this hole is basically an absence of the electron, and this hole is also able to move around. So this is showing the same thing, that we are having the intrinsic semiconductor where we don't have any doping, and this is the doped semiconductor. If we are doping with the phosphorus, we get an extra electron. This forms the n-type semiconductor, and if we are doping with the boron, we are having a hole. This forms the p-type semiconductor. And if the temperature is greater than 0 Kelvin, so what will happen is the electrons and the holes will become free. Okay, and the remaining will be the ionized or the locally charged atoms will remain. So the locally charged ion of the N type will become positive, and for the P type it will become negative. And this is just the band diagram of the doped semiconductor. So this is showing the Fermi level energy. So the Fermi level energy for intrinsic is just between the conduction band and the valence band. And the Fermi level for N type is near the conduction band because you are having excess electrons. And for the P type, it is near the valence band because you are having the excess holes. And this is the majority carrier. So the holes are the majority carriers in P type and electrons in the N type. And then we also have the minority carriers. So the electrons are the minority carriers in P type and holes are the minority carriers in the N type. Then we have the drift and the diffusion current. So two types of forces are acting on each one. So the drift current is because of the electric field, and the diffusion current is because of the concentration gradient. So these two are again all the time affecting the electrons and the holes. So the drift is the force, is the charged particle motion in response to the electric field. Okay, and the diffusion is a process whereby the particles tend to spread out from the regions of the high particle concentration into regions of low particle concentration. So when we form this together, okay, so we are having an N type and a P type. So so over here we have a P type and the N type. So when we join it, what happens is that the electrons and the holes, excess electrons and the holes recombine locally, and then we have what we call the space charge region is formed. So this space charge region is having a ionized acceptors and ionized donors, and because of that there is a there is an electric field that is induced in this particular space charge region. This is also called the depletion region. This region includes the net positively and the negatively charged region. Okay, but this region does not have any free carriers. Okay, so you already know that when we with this PN junction, if we use a forward bias, for example, if we apply a positive on the P side, so what happens that the junction width is decreased. Okay, so the junction width decreases with that, and because of that, the electrons can pass. Once the junction width is completely eliminated, the charge can flow. Right, so that is why you are having what we call a potential barrier. Okay, so if we are applying a forward bias voltage more than that particular potential barrier, the current can now flow. And for the silicon diodes, the potential barrier for power diodes is between 0.6 and 3 volts. And again, for the reverse bias, when you apply the reverse bias, this particular width actually increases. For what was initially, it increases further, and because of that, and during reverse bias condition, a small leakage current or the saturation current flows under the reverse bias condition. But when the reverse voltage is too high, we get what we call the breakdown voltage, where the covalent bonds themselves break. Okay, so the covalent bonds themselves break, and there is a breakdown avalanche current that happens, and because of that, the diode can be destroyed. So there is a limit to which the reverse bias can be applied. Okay, so this is the construction of the power diode now. So the power diode is not really just a PN junction, but it is something like this, where we are having the P positive. This is excess P type semiconductor is put. Then you are having the N minus. That medium amount of N substrate is there, and then you are having a heavily doped N substrate, that is the N plus. Okay, so this is the structure for the power diode, and this N minus layer is termed as the drift region. Okay, so this is termed as the drift region, and is the prime structural feature not found in the low power diode. So in the low power diodes, you will not find this N minus region. You will only find the P and the N region. Okay. And this N minus region is there for the power diodes, and this layer can be quite wide at large reverse voltages, and the drift region establishes what the reverse breakdown voltage will be. So it means that this particular region is giving you the buffer for excess amount of reverse voltage and also excess amount of forward current. Okay, so that is why you are having this N minus layer in between the P and the P plus and the N plus layer for the power diode. So this is the IV characteristic of a diode. Okay, so this is the IV characteristic for any kind of diode. So this is showing there are various things like the bias voltage. So VD is the bias voltage, the external voltage that we are providing the junction. The ID is the diode current, that is the current that is passing through the diode. Okay, and ID is negative for the reverse bias. There is the reverse bias saturation current, IS. So IS is the saturation current, and as we have discussed, there is a breakdown voltage. Okay, at this particular breakdown voltage, the covalent bonds themselves break, and there is a significant reverse voltage, reverse current that we observe. And then we also have a barrier potential voltage. So the in the forward voltage, there is a particular voltage for silicon diodes. This is 0.6. So beyond that, okay, so the depletion region slowly decreases, and at this particular region, at this particular point, it is completely eliminated, and suddenly there is a exponential growth of the diode current. So this characteristic that you are seeing, this is for a signal diode. Okay, so but for a power diode, okay, the power diode, the IV characteristic in the forward direction is the same as the B, but the only difference is that instead of exponential curve, what you get is a linear kind of curve. Okay, so as you increase the voltage, you get a linear curve, and this linearity is mainly because the large currents create a ohmic drop across the N minus region, and that masks the exponential IV characteristic. Okay, so instead of exponential curve, you will get a linear kind of characteristic, the forward region, and in the reverse region, only a small leakage current, which is independent of the reverse voltage, will flow. Okay, so there is a very small amount of leakage current that will flow. Again, the reason is the N minus layer, and this small amount of leakage current will flow, and when the breakdown is reached, the voltage appears to remain essentially constant, while the current increases dramatically, being limited only by the external circuit. So the voltage over here is again we see that it does not suddenly increase. Okay, the increase is gradual, and it will take some more reverse voltage to be it keeps on increasing, the current keeps on increasing, but the characteristic is a bit different. So it's an instantaneous change in the current happens for a signal diode, but the reverse breakdown current is gradual for the power diode. Okay, so for the power diode, what we further see is that this is the symbol. Okay, and this is the characteristic, IV characteristic. And for an ideal diode, so for an ideal diode, what would be the characteristic? Instantaneously, the current will become positive. There will be no forward voltage drop, and instantaneously, it will have no reverse current also. There will be no saturation current, and in the reverse, there will be no current flowing. So this characteristic is the characteristic of an ideal diode. This is the characteristic for the power diode. And for the power diode, they also requires a finite amount of time to switch from the blocking state to the on state, and vice versa. Okay, so there is a finite amount of time as well. That is the transition time. So both the transition times and the shapes of the waveforms are affected by the intrinsic properties of the diode. Okay. So what is the intrinsic property of the diode? So what you are seeing over here, it is the VI characteristic of the diode. So when you are turning it on, okay, so at this particular moment, okay, for the T1 period, it is switched off. Okay, so it is in the minus VR. Okay, so now you turn it on. So it does not instantaneously go to the on state. Okay, so gradually the current starts increasing. That is given by DIF by dt, and slowly it increases and goes to the particular maximum value of the current. Okay, and this is the on state, and when it is in the on state, it reaches a peak value that is given by LDI by dt. Okay, this LDI by dt is because of the inductive effect, that is inductance, internal inductance of the power diode, and because of that there is a voltage increase, and when the current becomes constant, the voltage then again becomes 0, that is the V on voltage. And when you turn it off, when the starting of the T3 you turn it off, so it does not turn off instantaneously. The voltage is on. Okay, so there is a positive voltage there, and there is a drop over here. So the current does not instantaneously just become 0. So what happens is that the current now flows in the reverse direction. Okay, so as you can see that the current, once you turn the power diode off, the current actually goes in the reverse direction, and this reverse direction current goes on for a particular value, that is the reverse recovery current. Okay, so this is called the reverse recovery current, and this goes on for a particular period of time, and then slowly it becomes nearly 0. Okay, it does not become 0, it becomes something like 25% of the reverse recovery current, but this is very small. Okay, so we don't consider this, but there is a particular reverse recovery current, and where does this current go, right? So the reverse current can go towards the source. Okay, or it can just circulate around the other circuits or the other switches. Okay, so with this particular power diode, it is not ideal diode, and there is a reverse current that is flowing, and this particular reverse current is very important for our consideration. Okay, so when you are buying the power diode, you have to make sure that there is a rating. Okay, so the reverse current rating is there for the diode, and it should adhere to your particular need. Okay, so this diode, let me just draw this. One second. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now the characteristic of the diode is something like this. The current characteristic, the power diode. Okay, so the current is flowing. Okay, normally the current is flowing. So this is the on state. Okay, and at this particular point, you decide to turn it off. Okay, so the current will now become decrease. Okay, but it will not become 0. Okay, so this is the current, this is the I, this is the voltage V. Sorry, this is the current, and let's say this is the time, around for what time it is there. Okay, and this current does not become 0. Okay, so it takes a significant amount of time to become completely 0. Instead, it becomes a negative value. Okay, so it becomes a negative value, and then it becomes a small reverse saturation current is flowing now. Okay, and that is there is a leakage current. Okay, so this is the leakage current that we have. This is the I on. Okay, and between that, what we have is this current, that is the IRR, the reverse recovery current. And this reverse recovery current is there for a particular period of time. So from here to here, it is there for the time period of TRR. That is the time period for the reverse recovery. Okay, and why this reverse recovery is happening? Because the minority carriers, okay, so the minority carriers need some time to recombine with the opposite charge and neutralize each other. So you are having the PN junction is there. Okay, and everything is fine, but when you switch it off, okay, so when you switch it off, the minority carriers are there, and these minority carriers need some time to recombine with the opposite charge. Okay, and they need some time to neutralize each other, and at that particular period, after this particular period, you get again a negative and a positive, like this. That is that means that the when it is conducting, okay, the depletion region is, let's say W, this is 0, and when it is completely in the off state, this is in the on state. So in the off state, the depletion region is having a particular width, W. Okay. So what it is saying basically is that it takes some time, okay, to go from the on state to the off state, and this time is basically the time that is needed to develop this particular depletion region. Is this clear? Any doubts in this?
Sir, could you explain it again?
Okay, so whenever we are conducting, okay, so the depletion region is 0, right? So there is no depletion region, and there is no barrier, okay. And if when we are having the off state, there is a particular depletion region, because it is in the it is in there is no conduction happening, so that can only happen if we have developed a depletion region. Otherwise, the excess electrons and the holes will flow through the depletion region. So there it takes some time to develop this particular depletion region, and that depletion region to form that depletion region, it takes some time. And while this depletion region is forming, the minority carriers, okay, they recombine with the opposite charge. Okay, so the minority carriers in the P is the electrons, okay, and the minority carriers in the N side is the holes.
Yes.
Okay, so these minority carriers recombine with the opposite charge and neutralize each other. So because of that, we are having this kind of reverse recovery is what we see. And it means that when we are having, this is the diode. Okay. So normally this is on, so the current is flowing in this direction, but when it is off, okay, the current is flowing in this direction. This is the IRR current. Okay, so it flows towards the source. Either it can go to the source or it can go to the other circuits. Okay, there can be other circuits also. Okay, so it can go to the other circuits, other switches. So this current.
So then the diffusion doesn't occur in the depletion region. It occurs on the other source.
Can you repeat it?
Sir, you said the minority charges like diffuses with the other like opposite charge.
Yes.
So where does it happen? It happens in the depletion region, or it happens in the source where it's going back when it is turned off?
No. It does not happen in the depletion region. The depletion region is slowly formed because of that.
Okay.
The depletion region is formed because the minority carriers recombine, need some time to recombine, and they recombine with the opposite charge, and because of that, this particular depletion region gets formed eventually. And once this depletion region gets formed, the switch is completely off, but it takes some time. And due to that time, during that time, there is a reverse current that is also flowing. Okay. So you go back and again revise this. I will be uploading these slides. So you go back and revise it, and I would be giving you the slides also that we had. Okay, so I just quickly went through that. So you go back and revise it.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so this is the way, this is the reason that we are having a reverse recovery and the reverse current is flowing. And this reverse recovery current is dissipating in other switches, okay, in other switches or in the other parts of the circuit. So diode specification sheet, when you got a commercial power diode, so in that commercial sheet you will get various things are there. So first the most important parameters is actually the IRR, that is the reverse recovery current, and the reverse recovery charge. Okay, so the reverse recovery charge is given by this particular triangle. Okay, this triangle is there. So it is the area of this triangle will give you the reverse recovery charge. and this is given by the half IRR into TRR. Okay. So this is an important parameter of a power diode. What are the other parameters? So the other parameters are the first is the forward is the forward current. Okay, so what is the IF or the limit for this particular IF? Okay, then what is the reverse blocking voltage? Okay, what is the VR, reverse blocking voltage? Okay, so what is the on state voltage? This is V on. Okay, what is the value of this V on? Okay, then you also need to know what is the surge current. Okay, so the surge current is the instantaneous increase in the current that the diode can handle. Okay, so these are various parameters that we take into consideration when we talk about the power diodes. So the what are the types of power diodes? Okay, so there are primarily three kind of power diodes. Okay, so the first is the line frequency, or it is also called a rectifier diode. It is also called slow diode. It is also called the line frequency diode. Okay, so these kind of diodes are slow diodes in a way because their switching frequency is the same as the line frequency, that is around 50 hertz. Okay, so they are used in applications such as rectifiers, and these are up to very high voltage ratings, that is 10 kilovolts, and very high current ratings, 5 kiloamperes. But they also have a very large reverse recovery time. So the reverse recovery time is very large, and the on state voltage is also very low, that is below 1 volts. Okay, so they can handle large blocking voltage, that is around 10 kilovolts, and these are having very slow frequency. Okay, so again, now about this particular thing, so why is this important? Okay, so this TRR, okay, so this TRR is what decides the switching frequency. Okay, so the time period that it takes to go back to the normal blocking state, okay, so that will decide the upper limit of the switching frequency. Okay, so these line frequencies have a large TRR and low frequency. So the second type is the fast recovery, or these are fast recovery diodes. These have very low TRR, and because of that, the switching frequency that it can handle is large, and normally used in high frequency circuits. And power levels are around 6 kilovolts voltage level it can handle, reverse voltage, and the current rating is 111 or 1100 amperes. Because these are the fast recovery. Then you also have the Schottky diodes. So the Schottky diodes are very low forward voltage drop and limited blocking voltage. So the Schottky diode, they have a very small forward voltage drop, around 0.3 volts, and it is only the majority carriers that conduct. Okay, so the conduction current is only due to the majority carriers, and the current rating is around 300 amperes. And the importance of this is that it has very low forward voltage drop, that is around 0.3 volts. Okay, and they are generally used for low voltage high current application, like the switched mode power supplies, that is UPS. Okay, so the UPS converters you have, they use these Schottky diodes. So these are commercial power diodes available. Okay, so this is showing you the fast recovery diode. Then the maximum voltage 400 volts, 2500 volts, the current rating, okay, VF, typical VF value, and the TR value. Okay, so then we also have the Schottky rectifiers over here. So the Schottky rectifiers are there, and then you also have the ultra fast recovery rectifiers. So these ultra fast recovery rectifiers are nowadays being used, and they are also called the silicon carbide rectifiers. Okay, so they have very small TR. Okay, so they are very ultra fast switching is possible, very high frequency switching is possible, and they also have low power losses. So the power losses is also very low. But again, the problem with these ultra fast recovery rectifier is that they are very expensive. So the building of these ultra fast rectifiers is very expensive. Okay. So now just an example in the automobile industry. Okay, so you already know that the cars and all, they are having a 14 volt DC system, and they are having the battery voltage of 12 volts, and the power rating in these devices is around 30 to 60 volts. Okay, and for a hybrid electric vehicle, the battery voltage is around 300 to 400 volts, and so you need a power device rating of around 600 volts, and the amperage would be around 300 amperes. Okay, so this is an automotive application, and where exactly are they used in automobiles? So they are used to rectify the AC current from the alternator to the DC current that charges the battery. Okay, so they are used to allow the load current freewheeling action as the anti-parallel diodes for the IGBTs or MOSFETs in the inverter or converter application. So we will see further. This is also very important concept called the freewheeling diode. So we cannot just use any diode. We have to use a power diode for the freewheeling, and they are also used to suppress the voltage transients. Okay, for example, when reverse biased. So for example, you are seeing over here is a rectifier diode. You are having the stator over here, the alternator, and that is charging the battery. And this battery is being charged by this particular rectifier over here. And this rectifier would not be a signal rectifier. That this rectifier would use a power diode rectifier. Okay, so these will be the diode rectifiers, and these will be power diodes. Okay. So finally, these are the summary of what we studied about power diodes. Okay, so any questions till this point? Any doubts?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so let me just take the attendance once then. Do you have any class now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so please roll call attendance. 01,
Present, sir.
2,
Present, sir.
3,
Present, sir.
4, 5, 6, 7,
Present, sir.
8, 9, 12,
Sir, 7. Present, sir.
12, 13,
Present,
14,
sir.
Present, sir.
Sir, 13 present, sir.
14, 16,
Present, sir.
17,
16 present, sir.
Sir, roll number 4
Present, sir.
present.
19,
Present, sir.
20, 21, 22,
Present, sir. 22.
So Prabhav Sinha present. I don't think my mic is working. I'm not sure.
roll number and present, just like that. 23,
Present, sir.
24,
Present, sir.
25,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
26,
Present, sir.
27, 28,
Present, sir.
29,
Present, sir.
Present, sir.
31, 32,
Present, sir.
33,
Yes, sir.
4,
Present, sir.
5,
Tikke ro muka tikke ro.
6,
Present,
7,
Present, sir.
roll number and present.
Hello, sir.
Present, sir.
Roll
31.
number 37, present, sir.
37,
37, sir, present, sir. Hello, sir.
38,
38 present, sir.
39,
39 present, sir.
301, 302, 3,
3 present, sir. 303 present.
303 present. Okay. All right.
So roll number 12 is present.
Hello, sir.
Okay, I will check it out in the.
Sir, 004 present, sir.
Okay. Yes. Yes. You have written now. I will check it out. Okay.
Sir, roll number 37 present, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
I
roll
know. You
number
have written your
31
roll number
present.
here. I will see it. I will verify it later. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
present
Thank you,
previous
sir.
class also.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Sir,
Hello.
sir,
हाँ बोलो.
hello, sir.
हाँ
Sir,
बोलो
roll
बोलो.
number 4, I was present.
हाँ roll number 4 you are present. Okay.
Marking actually.
Okay. Okay. Yes, you are present.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.